and running in no time. So I guess while we wait for them to run, I mean, this is a very easy segment of the game. It's very straightforward. The menuing is just one go. But right off the bat, we will see some of the main differences between runners in general. And there they go again. It looks like they're right back at the menuing. Let's see if H8 can pull off a similar menu like he did just now. So looks like he's getting a pretty solid start, and the same goes for Double this time around. But yeah, right off the bat, you'll see that the main difference in this game is not from the execution. It mostly just comes down to that little bit of RNG you get right at the start of the game already. As the game progresses, we'll be seeing a lot of different sets of RNG, and we'll be seeing a lot of different encounters that may or may not actually hurt or help the runners. In general, they're looking for encounters that they can very quickly run from, encounters that don't ambush them, preferably even preemptive, because that's a guaranteed run. Or if they can't get that, at least an encounter that, you know, it doesn't slow them down in any way, and certain encounters will do that more than others. It looks like both are getting a very quick start once more. H8 actually improving his menu by a fraction of a second just now. He actually golded his menuing split there. So good start for H8. Double slightly in the lead this time, but the difference isn't all that big.
And you will notice that the runners try to avoid forests as much as they can, because it seems like the encounter rate in forests is higher than on the normal grass.
Yeah, in this game, like, there are a lot of little optimizations you can do just to reduce the chances of getting the encounters that you don't want to see. And you'll notice very often that these runners, especially runners of this skill level, will try to take every minor frame time save they can get. Little things like minor movement optimizations to things like not walking onto the forest. There's actually a segment coming up fairly soon where you'll see both of these runners avoid the forest as much as possible. So here they both come up on the first boss. This is Garland. And, well, they, much like how they glitched some armor into their inventory, they also can glitch weapons in a similar fashion. They went from an armor slot into a weapon slot on the same frame that they switched character, or that they went into the menu. So basically it comes down to switching character and pressing and going into the menu on the exact same frame. It is a frame perfect trick every single time they do it, but both of these runners are skilled enough that they have mastered that glitch down to the core. We'll be seeing a lot of that little menuing. And here, as they go into the castle, they get the loot. It's a very crucial item for the game. You actually cannot leave this room without getting the loot. If you were to try to leave the room, the princess would actually call you back, and that loses a few frames. So both of these runners talking to the princess just to get that couple frame time save right there. I do also want to mention, it looks like H8 is slightly in the lead, but they both actually got the exact same Garland time, both on a 2:24, which is a really solid early game. It's definitely the kind of times you can expect to see from these runners, but will still involve a lot of RNG in order to get.
And for the upcoming mini-boss fight, we saw in the second equipment glitch menu that both runners got a judgment staff, which help us at the beginning. And in this game, you can also use items that you have equipped. And with that judgment staff, when you use it, you actually cast Flare, which makes a ton of damage. And especially on the next boss fight, it will be very useful.
Yeah, so just to give you an idea, these runners are less than 5 minutes into the game, and they have already gotten some of the best armor in the game, specifically the Knight's armor, which is one of the more expensive pieces of armor. I think it's like the second or third most expensive piece of armor in the game. On top of which they have the most powerful staff in the game, which you would normally only get in the bonus dungeons. And they are able to cast Flare, the most powerful black magic spell in the game. So in the 5 minutes that these runners have been going, they have already got some of the best equipment in the game. There is, however, one issue that both of these runners are facing right now, and that's that none of that equipment they have actually helps them run from encounters. Because of that, especially in this early part of the game, these encounters are going to be brutal, and they can make a huge difference. The difference on like the first 10 minutes of the game, between a really good run and a fairly bad one, can easily already count up to like 2 to 3 minutes. So it'll definitely come down to who's gonna get lucky. Now I will say that none of that time is going to matter, because anything can change in the late game all the same. But the early game does generally give an idea of what's going on. Looks like they're still both roughly even going into that pirate split, going into that fight with the pirates. So yeah. Normally in the pirates fight, you'd expect to see runners to use that judgment staff as an item. They have it equipped, so they might as well use it. They cast flare, basically one-shotting every single pirate in here, and not by a little bit either. These guys are doing 200 damage a pirate, and these pirates only have like 30 to 40 health, if I remember correctly. It's still a very, very close race on pirates. And from the looks of their splits, they are still only seconds apart, and they both got a sub 6 pirates, which in general is a really good start.
Yes, it is. And in this fight, there's also a little bit RNG, because it depends on when your character actually used the judgment staff. Sometimes it happens that your mages get first turn, and sometimes all the pirates get their first turn before the mages.
So this is where you get to see where the first major time difference is going to be. H8ChillPenguin just got a Sahagin Big Eye encounter, which is one of the most brutal encounters in the game. These guys, not only are they really, really difficult to run from, they can gaze, which paralyzes the characters, which can potentially get you into a paralock. They will always go first. They just waste a lot of time. So right off the bat, we see Hate losing almost a minute on double here, just on RNG. There is a total of 3 ship segments that both of these runners will have to go through before they get the equipment that will help them run. And generally, those 3 ship segments can make a huge difference early on. Another encounter that you may have noticed a few times already are these wolves. And these wolves are another one of those really hard to run encounters. It's not uncommon for runners to really struggle getting rid of those wolves, and they can again lose a lot of time to that. So Double taking the early lead here for his first group stage match, but not all is lost, because this guy Hate, he has the potential to just catch right back up if he gets lucky. And it looks like Double is getting a pretty brutal walk towards Marsh Cave here. So, looks like Hate is actually almost entirely caught up from that time loss.
And like you already said, anything can happen.
You'll notice here Double just got poisoned, and that is going to make it a little harder, because he actually now has to go into the menu and heal off that poison. It's not unlikely Double will opt to immediately also heal the remaining characters. Yeah, there he does. That's mainly because, first of all, you want to have the health of certain characters, specifically the Thief and the Warrior, at a very specific amount. By the time we hit about the 45-minute mark, you want to have them somewhere between 25 and 75 health. By healing to full here, you get close to that health, and the general damage you take will get that down further. Hate, coincidentally, not having healed yet, opting to go a little bit more risky. This first boss fight, the Pisco Demons, they can actually really hurt you if you haven't healed up. Looks like Hate is also opting to heal here, getting the health between the 25 and 75 mark. So getting the health he wants right off the bat. Double is kind of relying on getting certain encounters out of the way later that will help drop his health a little bit, which at this point in the game is a very safe bet. So Double being the first to reach the Pisco Demons, but very closely followed by H8ChillPenguin here, both of them getting 2. These Pisco Demons can be a pack of anywhere between 2 and 4 of these. The runners will opt to use the staff, as a physical attack is not a guaranteed kill here. and they will be picking up the crown. Now, just to give an idea of what's actually going on story-wise, both of these players, they have to collect the 4 crystals of light in order to travel back in time to beat Garland's once more and break a time loop, so to speak. In order to do that, they need to find the 4 crystals of light, specifically earth, fire, water, and air. They will be doing that in that order as well. However, the problem is they can't actually access any of the dungeons where one of those crystals would be, because the ocean that they're currently in is not linked to the ocean where all the others are. In order to get that ocean ready, they need to blow up a canal, so to speak, get an opening ready, for which they need a nitro powder. Now the thing is, the nitro powder is right at the starting town, but they can't actually access it because the door is locked. In order to unlock the door, they're going to need the mystic key. That mystic key, that's right there in Elfheim, which is the castle they passed on the way to Marsh Cave. But the problem is the prince in the castle, he's currently under a sleeping spell by Astos. So you need to beat Astos in order to get the crystal eye. You gotta bring the eye to Matoya to get the Jewel Tonic to wake up the prince. Thing is, Astos will not fight you unless you have the crown. So you gotta get the crown in order to fight Astos, beat Astos, and get the eye. Then you gotta bring the eye to Matoya. You'll get the Jewel Tonic so that you can pick up the Mystic Key from Elfheim. Use that to get the Nitro Powder, and with that you can actually start going for the crystals. So this entire early game segment is just a giant fetch quest for these runners. You just gotta get item after item just so that they can get to those crystals. Generally, we'll be seeing these runners pick up the first crystal around the 33-34 minute mark. It looks like H8ChillPenguin actually took the lead on Astos. This is actually one of the trickier bosses strat-wise. What they'll be doing is that they will be using the Judgment Staffs using both of the mages, which, if they get very good rolls, is enough to kill. However, the White Mage generally doesn't deal enough damage, so they'll set up their Warrior and Thief in order to use a physical attack to push it over that limit. Now, the thing with Astos, though, he can use a spell called Death, which he did on H8ChillPenguin just now. Basically has a chance to instant kill a character. It's generally fine as long as it's not one of the mages. It loses a little bit of time because the animation is slightly slower and you will have to heal. But it doesn't actually mess up his experience at all. So he did get the high roll, 200 and something on the White Mage, so he gets the 1 turn. Double also getting that 1 turn. Both getting a pretty decent fight here, I do want to say.
And that experience is actually pretty important because late in the game we have a little grind section where we grind the White Mage and the Black Mage to level 18. Because when they get their class changes and they have a specific level, they get access to new spells like Hilara and Haste, which we need for the later bosses in the game.
Yeah, basically, because of the equipment glitch, there is very little actual grinding that needs to be done. Assuming the players would have enough health, they could pretty much go as low as level 15, 16, which they will get on the way regardless. The thing is, they need certain spells in order to be able to beat the final boss. Specifically, they need Hilara. That's the most important spell in the game. Without that, they would always die on the final boss here. The thing is, in order to get Hilara, the White Mage needs to be level 19, so they will need to do a little bit of grinding later on. The reason we also want to grind up the Black Mage is because once class changed, he can learn a spell called Teleport, which can instantly warp you back a floor, which is used in 2 dungeons later on. Saves a pretty significant chunk of time. So it looks like both of the runners are opting to park their ship on the most right tile of the dock. There's actually 2 strats here. They can either park it on the most left tile and then walk over the docks, because the docks don't actually give any encounters. Or they can park it a little further, 2 tiles to the right. They will risk 2 additional encounter tiles. However, the movement on the ship is a lot faster than walking, so they save a few frames as long as they do not actually get an encounter there. So both of them opting to go for the slightly faster but slightly more risky strat.
And when we're talking about RNG, I also want to mention that there is NPC RNG. There are some NPCs that actually can block you on the way, like in Marsh Cave, the brooms can actually stand in front of the door and won't let you in. And also some other NPCs that can block you and screw you up.
Yeah, the brooms being in the way is very rare, but there are a few NPCs later on that we'll see that that can definitely screw you over quite badly. It's looking like H8 currently has about a 30-second lead. Not anything too significant, but definitely a good lead for the early game for H8ChillPenguin. He seems to be getting a good chip right back as well, so he's about to get the Mystic Key as long as he doesn't get trolled too much by these wolves. The Mystic Key is generally one of the first points in the game where we're going to say, okay, this is about the time that you should expect. Now, generally, for races like this, runners like H8ChillPenguin and Dubldrop, you can expect them to get somewhere between a 16 and 17 minute. 17 to 18 if they get very unlucky, which at this point, it's going to be close if Double would get this up 17. But H8 definitely getting a really solid Mystic Key with like a 16 minute, like 20 seconds I want to say. Yeah, 16 minutes, 19 second Mystic Key. Very good early game for H8ChillPenguin there.
I also want to mention that there's a little strat when you first arrive on the southern island. Some people actually go into Alfheim and buy some gold needles because there will be a dungeon very soon. And there are some mobs called cockatrices that can actually petrify you. And depending on the fight, if it's an ambush, they actually can totally kill you. And even if they only petrify like a few characters, some gold needles are actually really helpful for that. But it doesn't seem that any of the runners go for the early gold needles.
No, both of them are picking up the gold needles late, it seems like. The strat is roughly the same in time. It really comes down to runner preference. So one thing you'll see here, they both are equipping the Thieves' Armlets from the Mithril Hammer. You'll also notice that Double is going to catch up a significant bit of time just on that menuing. Double's menuing is probably known as the best menu. Like he's known as one of the best menuers in the game, like in the community. Like there are a few people that can menu as quickly as he can, and that is definitely where H8ChillPenguin has lost like a good 15-20 seconds at least. Both getting the gold needles. The reason they want to get those Thieves' Armlets they just equipped is that item right there is the very first item that will help them run from enemies. Each of these items equipped will give a +5 on agility, so adding up to a total of +15 on agility, making running from encounters a lot more consistent. So both of these runners getting that out of the way, and that will make their early game a lot more easygoing. They'll be upgrading the equipment later on to black garbs and then survival vests, because those add a bigger amount of agility per item. But for the early game, this will generally just suffice, and it'll help them get through a lot easier than they did before.
So H8Chill just got the Mystic Key and is driving to the Mount Duiga, I think it's called.
Yeah. So H8 is almost at Mount Duiga. He has the nitro powder, so he can get that canal open. Double also having picked up the nitro powder at this point, so he's also going to head towards Mount Duiga and get that canal. H8, however, is still quite a bit in the lead, and Double has had some rough encounters early on, but he is definitely the kind of runner that can make that up if he wants to. Now, you may have noticed just now that both Double and H8, they park their ship on the leftmost tile of the docking there. That's just to save 2 steps of movement. It saves very little time, but it is just another one of those minor time saves that, you know, over the course of a run, they tend to add up. And in response to chat, you can definitely say that Double is definitely the more likely candidate to win this race. His movement and menuing generally is a little bit better than H8ChillPenguin's. However, RNG is something that is a very determining factor in this game. So even with the better movement and the better menuing from Double, there is still a very good chance that H8 may take the race regardless.
I also want to mention, as soon as they pass the canal, they gonna stop by in the town that's called Malmont, and there will be another equipment glitch where they glitch the Barbarian Sword, and I think it's the strongest weapon.
Yeah, it is by far. They're about to get the by far strongest weapon in the game. Just to give you an idea, you may have heard of such swords as Excalibur or the Masamune. The Barbarian Sword has almost 3 times the base power of those swords, outclassing the other swords with, I believe, 47 to 125 base power. So it's like 2.5 to 3 times as powerful. You can normally only get this in the hardest dungeon in the game, the Labyrinth of Time, which, in order to get that, you actually need to take the hardest route and the hardest boss in order to even be able to get there. So you need to beat the hardest boss of the hardest dungeon in the game just to be able to access this sword, and it's definitely one of those things where they will be getting that very early on, and they will be equipping it to every single character, including their mages. So they will have a lot more equipment to work with, and they'll have a lot more damage output for the early part of the game. This is the sword they will keep using for the entire remainder of the game. Except they will change one piece of weaponry near the end just for the final boss on the White Mage. It is the only change they are still going to make later on. So H8ChillPenguin opting to leave his boat where it is, quite similar to what I mentioned earlier with how they can use the docks to skip some encounters. You can do a little movement optimization, Double going for it, moving the ship 1 tile down. Again, it is very slightly faster than just moving around. However, it does risk an extra encounter tile, so at the end of the day, it is just up to the runners as to what they want to do. Looks like H8 is taking that slightly safer route, whereas Double is taking the slightly faster route in that.
And we're about to enter one of the first actually brutal dungeons, the Cavern of Earth. Inside that dungeon is one of the first elementals, the Lich. But you can't enter the lower levels right now. First, they have to kill a vampire to pick up the Star Ruby, so they can go to a giant, give them the Star Ruby, and then get an Earth Rod to enter the lower levels in the dungeon.
Yeah,
so we're going to see the runners enter the dungeon twice.
Yeah, this is the dungeon they will probably end up spending presumably the most time in of all the dungeons. I do want to quickly mention H8ChillPenguin just made his first safety save. There is a very rare encounter here, the cockatrices, that can petrify you. If they happen to ambush you in a group of in a big enough group, and they happen to be able to petrify you before you get to do anything, they can kill a run. Double is opting not to take the save. It's a very, very rare death, but Double taking a risk here. I think so far we've only seen like a handful of deaths in the year and a half that I've been running this game to those cockatrices, but it is definitely something they'll want to watch out for. On top of that, you'll also notice Double just got some Pisco Demons, and that he's opting to kill those, and that is not without reason. The Pisco Demons here are the first encounter that are unrunnable, meaning that no matter how hard they would try, they would never be able to run from them. Ideally, you don't want to see any of those in a run, but looks like Double is getting somewhat unlucky here.
And for all the unrunnable encounters, it's if you get like 2 or 3 encounters, it's okay if you just attack them. But if you get more like 3, It's definitely faster to just use the Judgment Staff.
Yeah, just to give you a comparison, on 3 enemies, the animation length of the Judgment Staff, or just attacking them, is about the same. Which ends up being, I want to say, about 8 point something seconds. Whereas, if it's more than that, you'll want to use the Judgment Staff, because 4 attacks would take longer than using the animation.
And I also want to mention, as soon as you get access to the ship, you can enter a little mini game, which is called 15 Puzzles. And if you do it right and fast, you actually can get a prize that is called Emergency Exit, which you can compare to I don't know how it's called in Pokemon, but like the item you use and
the escape rope.
leave the dungeon. Yeah,
it's something that instantly would warp you out of the dungeon.
And
so another thing that's very, very clear about the RNG right now, like H8 just got about a minute and a half exit of the cave. Just to give you an idea, about a minute 45 to 2 minutes is about average for leaving the cave. So H8 is getting really solid RNG up to this point in the run, and it's definitely looking like he's just making that league bigger and bigger as he goes along. So he's about to hit the Sage's Cave, which is where he's going to get the Earth Rod. Basically, the Sage, as soon as you talk to him, he'll give you the Earth Rod so that you can actually go further into Cavern of Earth and beat the Lich, which is the first major boss of the game. But up to this point, we've seen some bosses, but we haven't actually seen one of the major bosses yet. H8 will be coming up on one of those really, really soon. So he's gonna leave Sage's Cave and he's gonna go back into Cavern of Earth, do all those 3 floors he did before again, but this time actually progress onto floor 5.
And Lich is also one of the bosses that can actually kill you.
Yeah, Lich is one of the in terms of bosses at least, one of the main run killers in the game. It's not very likely for Lich to kill you because you kill him in 1 turn. Like, you generally need 3 to 4 hits in order to kill. 2 if you get lucky. It kind of depends on who attacks as well. But if he happens to go before you do, he has a move called Blizzara, which can instantly wipe your party at this health. We may or may not see Nick opt to completely heal both of his mages, because his white mage might actually be able to survive a Blizzara on this health. He has a very, very high amount of HP on the white mage. However, since he wants to keep both the ninja and warrior low, and since his black mage will never have enough health at this point, it's very unlikely that he'll actually live if a Blizzara happens. So Double now also coming up on the Earth Rod, getting that item out of the way, and it's looking like we've got about a minute 40 difference between the two. I do want to mention H8 just lost quite a bit of time because of that shadow ambush he got, so if Double gets lucky, he may be able to pull back a little bit.
And if I remember correctly, the shadow encounter is very unlikely to be a preemptive. Very unlikely to be an ambush, sorry.
Yeah, the shadow encounter is actually an interesting encounter in that it is always going to be a preemptive or an ambush. It's about an 80% chance to be preemptive, and this is actually interesting because in the NES and PSX version of the game, the odds were actually the reversed, so the ambush chance would be higher. In the PSP version, however, the chances of getting a preemptive are much bigger. It's looking like H8 is getting a pretty decent Earth Cave so far, and it's looking like Double is just starting to lag behind more and more at this rate. That B3 was incredibly good right there, definitely one of the best I've ever seen. So if Nick can, or sorry, if H8ChillPenguin can keep up this pace, he might actually be in for a PB at this rate. Not sure how he's doing on his PB, but it's looking like a sub 32 Lich, even if he gets like average RNG from this point on. Now, generally, like anything under 32 minutes for Lich is really, really solid. The world record currently, which is held by Dubldrop, has a 30 minutes and 55 seconds Lich, which is just under the 31-minute split. And H8ChillPenguin is right on pace for that. He might be very slightly behind, but the differences are quite minor.
And we see Double just entering B3, so he's catching up a bit.
H8 is getting some pretty bad RNG on floor 4 and 5 here. It doesn't necessarily have to mean anything though, because we have yet to see what Double is going to get. The H8ChillPenguin here opting for another safety save. Oh, and Double getting that 8 white gas ambush. That is one of the nastiest encounters you can get. That is going to lose him a lot more time again. So just to give you an idea, that whites and ghasts are actually able to paralyze a character. And the problem with that is that paralyzation actually stacks. So it can happen that all 4 characters get paralyzed and you're just not able to break out. H8ChillPenguin in the meantime killing off Lich with a 31-11, being only, I want to say, 16 seconds behind the world record at the moment. This is quite a pace he's on. That is a Lich time that on any runner you can be very happy with, and definitely the kind of Lich time that, regardless of your skill level, is what you would go for if you're going to try for world record. It's gonna be hard for Double to catch up on this kind of pace. It would be interesting to see Double taking the first loss of the tournament, especially considering he is one of the favorites to take the tournament to begin with. Double about to get to Lich, but gets stopped by some Wraiths, and that is another bad encounter for Dubldrop. Wraiths are one of those encounters that, again, they can paralyze you. They are, again, hard to run from. He got away fairly quickly there, and he was lucky that there were only 2, but it is just another time loss for him. I will say, though, before anything else, like, we are about to come up on Cavern of Ice, and no run is secure until we have passed Cavern of Ice, at the very least. In a race we were doing the other day, like, I was racing along with, I believe it was 5 other people, and I lost 5 minutes in this next dungeon, so, you know, it can happen, it can happen. So it's gonna come down to what's going to happen on those next few dungeons here. Dubldrop getting the 3-shot on Lich, and with that, Dubldrop is also killing Lich without a death, so far, definitely not a bad pace for Double. 33.06, very respectable pace, especially for a race. But there is, with that, an almost 2-minute gap in favor of H8ChillPenguin.
Okay, so H8Chill is about to enter Crescent Lake, where we get the canoe, and we're going to do another equipment glitch. We getting the Black Ops, which helps us to increase the chance to flee a little bit more. And you will mention that we glitched that only on the Black Mage and the Ninja, because we're glitching that from the Warrior. And in order to glitch it from the Warrior to the White Mage, we would have to swap the formation, like the White Mage with the Black Mage again. But you don't really need it, so it would just lose time if you do the thing.
Looks like H8ChillPenguin is actually opting to go for the 3-character Blackgarb strat. It's not a very common strat these days. It does, however, add a little bit of safety to it, so it can definitely end up working in his favor if he gets lucky. It is a bit slower, but on average it tends to kind of even out depending on your menuing. Looks like I'm getting some connection issues from Dubldrop. I'll get him back up as soon as I can. Okay, it's looking like the difference isn't too big. If it happens to happen, or if it happens again, I'll reload his stream real quick. It's looking like Double is getting some pretty significant frame drops here.
And the thing is, H8Chill is in the lead at the moment, so he can go for the optional menu there.
Yeah, because of his lead, it's definitely something worth considering for H8ChillPenguin, just to help his running chances just that little bit more. It'll probably end up losing him a little bit of time on average because of his menuing, but at the end of the day, it can just help him save that extra bit that Double won't be going for. Looking like he's struggling with these Sahagin Sharks though. Getting a second turn run, losing him a couple seconds there, but looking like he's keeping a steady lead on Dubldrop here. So this is the point in the game where these runners are gonna kinda sequence break. It's not really a sequence break in that you can do this without any glitching. But the game is kind of expecting you to go towards Mount Gulg and get the Fire Crystal, which is the second of the crystals. However, these runners are going to do some side questing before anything else. They're first going to head into Cavern of Ice, which they need in order to get the Levy Stone, which they need for the airship. Which saves quite a bit of overworld movement if they use the airship rather than the canoe to get to Mount Gulg. They will, on top of that, also use this place to grind up their levels just that little bit, so that they can learn the spells they wanna have later on. Now, once they will be done with that, before they will go for the Fire Crystal, they will first head into the Citadel of Trials so that they can get the class change. And it's not until after the class change that they're actually going to go to the crystal that they're intended to get right now. So H8ChillPenguin getting into Cavern of Ice. Now, I just want to mention that Cavern of Ice is probably the most deadly dungeon in the game. And just to give you an idea of what can go wrong, because there is a lot that can happen in here. There's the cockatrices, which is a very common encounter, which on an ambush can potentially petrify you. There are the undeads that can paralock you. There is a 1 in 64 encounter, the White Dragon, where if you happen to encounter that, it can just instantly kill you with Ice Storm. There is a 3 in 64 encounter, the Dark Wizard, which can instantly kill you using Faraga. And there are the Mind Flyers, which can kill a character upon hit, as well as paralock the entire party in one go. So there are a lot of ways that this single dungeon is going to make a huge difference over the course of this race.
And you will also notice that as soon as H8Chill will fall down, he will get an encounter. And this is not just bad luck. This is actually a spike tile, one of the few points in the game where you almost every time get an encounter.
Yeah, you are guaranteed to get an encounter on that tile. It's always a combination of undeads. The combination itself is random, so it kind of depends on their luck as to what they're going to get. But they will always see that encounter regardless. The Double finally entering Cavern of Ice as well, taking his safety save here. Depending on the runner, they will take anywhere between between 1 and 4 safety saves over the course of this dungeon. We'll probably be seeing these runners go for at least 2 of these. So this is where they're going to fight a little bit of a mini-boss, the Evil Eye, and they're going to wait out for a Thundara, which H8ChillPenguin gets on the first turn. Really good RNG again. This is the boss that they're going to kill off their thief and their warrior so that they don't get the experience, but rather the mages do. The mage is getting that experience and they're going to grind it up to level 18 and a half. Basically what they'll do is they'll grind to level 18 and then kill one more to guarantee they'll have enough experience later on in the game. So Dubldrop getting another very rare encounter here, the Ice Giga's Winter Wolf. Probably about as, I want to say it's a 1 in 64 or a 3 in 64. It's another one of those unrunnable encounters, but one you very rarely get to see in this dungeon. Luckily in this dungeon, it's not that big a time loss. It is definitely still a time loss, but it's nothing major for these runners. So the Evil Eye that H8ChillPenguin is grinding on here, that is another one of those spiked tiles, so every time he will step onto that tile, he will get an Evil Eye encounter. Depending on his luck, or it very rarely can go first, which is why he took the heal in between there to make sure they could survive a hit. Double taking a reset there, he got an ambush on that encounter. The spiked tile with the wights and ghasts and the other undeads, we generally tend to save before that in races, because if you happen to get ambushed, it's just faster to reset. It's regardless a pretty big time loss, but it is at that point just faster for these runners to just opt for a reset and hope to get good luck on the second fight. Ooh, H8ChillPenguin actually taking a bit of a loss there in that he jumped down too early. A very common thing in that area is that it can happen that you fall down before you've hit level 18. It's generally fine, but it's gonna be interesting to see if he knows how to deal with that. He gets the 3 in 64 Dark Wizard. He does not get Farragut or ambushed, so he's gonna be fine. He's gonna move on. 2 3 in 64 Dark Wizards back to back. This game is having it out for him.
And Double now entering the first Evil Eye fight. So let's see if we can catch up.
Looks like he's gonna get the Thundara on turn 1 as well, which is pretty lucky for Double. So Double is taking a slightly faster strat here in that he's only going to attack with the Black Mage. Now the reason he picks the Black Mage is because 9 out of 10 times the Black Mage will be faster anyway because of those Black Garbs, as he didn't equip them on the White Mage. It's still at the end of the day a little bit more risky, especially considering how low his health is, but he should generally just be fine. He's gonna get that grind out of the way. H8ChillPenguin will have to do some extra grinding in Citadel, or he will not end up with the spells that he needs. So it's gonna be interesting to see if H8 knows how to get this his levels up in this scenario. It's generally not that hard, but in this situation, Double is definitely the runner that has that bit of experience that H8 lacks, that may just gain Double a little bit of time on H8 again. Might give him a shot to catch up just that little bit. Yeah, you can in this game just soft reset using start select LNR, so it's a very quick way to reset. They can definitely get back in there if they need to. So H8ChillPenguin getting his airship here under the 44-minute mark. Just to give you an idea, if it wasn't for the fact that he's lacking in about 2 levels right now, he would be, I want to say, about 30 seconds off of the world record at this point. So he's in a very, very good position. Double getting unlucky again, getting a Wraith and Spectre encounter as he is grinding. It's generally really, really dangerous to get that encounter as you're grinding, just because at that point, you know, they can just end up ambushing you and very quickly paralocking you. Double getting that kill though, so he should be fine. He should almost be done with grinding. There is Double, level 19. He actually opted to go for level 19 in general. Took one more fight, probably because he didn't realize he had the levels because of that Wraith Spectre encounter. Because it's not an encounter you commonly see, and it's not an encounter that you kill often enough that you know how much experience it's going to give. He's taking that extra fight just because of how rare that combination of encounters is. H8ChillPenguin, in the meantime, entering the Citadel of Trials, and this is a very, very important dungeon. The Citadel of Trials is where they're going to get the class change, but it's also one of those dungeons where if you get unlucky, you can lose a lot of time.
And I also want to mention that in the Citadel of Trials, you are picking up a very important item. What I learned recently, the healing staff, which is needed to equip the loyalty ropes later in the game, which increase the amount of healing your red mage is gonna deal. So
yeah. Basically, that item alone, the healing staff, back about a year and a half ago, we actually did not do the Citadel. It's the only optional dungeon we enter, but because we never had that healing staff, and because we didn't get the lordly robes, we would have to grind up to level 33 for Hilaga, which is the upgraded form of Hilara. Just because of that item, we can skip a lot of level grinding. On top of which, because of the class change, you're gonna get teleport as well, which is gonna save even more time because you can skip quite a few floors later on. So the first thing they're gonna do, first of all, you're gonna see H8 getting into this nightmare fight. It's another one of those spiked tiles. At this point in the game, it's generally not worth to run away from them. They can opt to try, but it's pretty rare. The double picking up his airship as well. Looking like it's about a 3-minute gap at this point, 2.5 to 3 minute gap. It's definitely favorable for H8ChillPenguin. They just picked up the healing staff there, and on top of that, they're gonna get another item in just a little bit, which is the gauntlet. And the gauntlet is another one of those items that just helps with boosting the amount of healing you do. You could technically do it without. The thing is, then you would need to equip a third lordly rope, which gives a regen animation, which because of that ends up being slower, especially because the gauntlets is only 4 additional steps they have to take for it. So H8ChillPenguin getting a pretty good Citadel off here. Looking like he's actually about on par with the world record right now. He's seconds off of the world record. But keep in mind, he does still need to be sure that he is level 19 at the end of this, or he may lose a little bit of time later on. He's checking his level. He is level 19. He is currently only 18 seconds off of world record. I will say though, world record's big time loss is right here in the Citadel of Trials. This is where Double can catch up if he gets lucky. I'm looking at these splits here. So the world record time for the Citadel of Trials is a 47:31. H8ChillPenguin just getting a 47:49. So very, very close match. H8ChillPenguin opting to try and run from the sandworms. The sandworms is actually another one of those encounters that can kill you using a move called Earthquake. It's gonna be, at least he got away from it, but it is a bit of a risk to try and run from them. He will, at that point, be the first to get the class change. Like I said, this is a very interesting race, just because of how well H8Chill is playing, on top of which the RNG he's getting is just phenomenal right now. Like at this rate, it is not likely, but it is definitely not impossible that H8ChillPenguin might just be the second person in the world to get a sub 127 at this point. About halfway through the run, if he can keep up this pace, he is in good shape. However, it is looking like Double is catching up at least a little bit at this point. He's about to finish up his Citadel, and he's saved quite a bit of time here. Like I said, the difference at the airship was about 3 minutes, I want to say. that gap has closed to just over like 2 minutes 10. So Double saved almost 50 seconds on H8ChillPenguin just on that Citadel alone. The H8ChillPenguin getting his spells, getting Hilara and Teleport in this place, and those are two of the most important spells he's going to get. And right after that he'll get his third important spell, which is going to be Haste. Struggling a little bit with that menu, but he should be fine. They're gonna make a quick visit here to Elfheim again, and that's because there's one spell in here. The haste spell. Basically what it does is, if used, it effectively doubles the amount of damage you do. It's very useful for the final boss. It's only going to be used on 2 boss fights, but it makes a huge difference on those 2. Double also getting the sandworms, but also getting away very quickly. They're both definitely taking some risks here, but they're both getting away with it at this point.
And H8Chill now finally entering the Mount Gulg. And a very interesting thing about this dungeon is that you will see that the runners try to run on the lava as much as they can. They will get a hit every time they take a step on it, but if you walk on the lava, they don't get an encounter.
Ooh, Hate getting very unlucky there, getting the one unrunnable in this dungeon so far. The Ogre Mage Hellhound is one of the only unrunnables that you'll see in this area, especially at this point in the run. Yeah, he's gonna keep an eye on his health here, making sure that he's healed up enough. He's taking all that damage, as helpful as it is because you get very few encounters. It is also kind of risky because if you do not heal throughout the dungeon, you can end up with 4 characters being on 1 health. Now there is an encounter here called the Fire Hydra or the Hellhound. Either of them can do that. And these guys can use Blaze, which would just instantly wipe the party at that point. Mikey correctly pointing out there are also fire elementals in this dungeon, however they will only be found on floor 5 as a 1 in 64 encounter if I recall. So up to the point where Hate is at, he wasn't able to encounter those just yet. So Hate almost getting to the boss here. He's got a pretty unlucky Mount Gulg. Just another chance for Double to potentially catch up a little bit here. Generally, average for this dungeon is anywhere between like 1 and 2 encounters. 3 is okay, but Hate is getting 4, out of which he had to kill 2 of them. Very unlucky there. Definitely another chance for Double to save a little bit of time on Hate and close up that gap a little bit.
And H8Chill is now entering the Merilith fight. And after that, we are about to enter one of your favorite dungeons, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it is actually my favorite dungeon. They're about to come up on the Sunken Shrine. They're going to do a little bit of side questing after this. And this is basically the last bit of side questing not directly, or kind of directly related to the story, but kind of something that needs to be done before they can move on. They have a similar thing before they can enter the Air Temple, the Flying Fortress. Ooh, Double taking the risk there, going on with that low health. Taking that heal here after that preemptive Hellhound. If that double Hellhound had been an ambush and both of them would have blazed, that could have cost Double the race here.
And you also noticed the little cutscenes after defeating the Chaoses. You have seen these caves where the big statues disappear. These are actually the 4 bonus dungeons that you only can enter when you defeated the boss. And in that dungeon there are specific and cool bosses from other Final Fantasy games, such as like I think Gilgamesh and Shiryu. was it?
Yeah, there are the bosses of respectively FF3, 4, 5, and 6. The one you see unlocking here at the end of Mount Gulg as the boss is the Elemental Archfiend of Final Fantasy IV in it. So looking at the time, Double caught up about a good 15 seconds just on Mount Gulg, so he is closing up the gap a little bit. There's about a 1 minute 44 difference from the looks of it between him and H8ChillPenguin. He's made some minor mistakes there, but overall it shouldn't cost him too much. H8, however, taking a bit of an interesting path towards the desert. We'll probably see Double take a slightly faster route with the airship. Again, another chance for Double to potentially catch up just a few seconds again. Catching up on H8ChillPenguin a second at a time. And like, this race is not done because Sunken Shrine is still coming up, and Sunken Shrine is a very big deal here. This next dungeon is the dungeon with the highest amount of unrunnable encounters in the game. There are the Sahagin Chief or Prince and Chief combination. There are the ghosts, the water elementals, all encounters that these runners will have to kill if they happen to encounter them. So, statistically, this is another one of those dungeons where runners can just lose minutes if they get unlucky. On top of that, on the way to it, they can encounter ice gigases, which are unrunnable as well. So, definitely something that luck is gonna still play a very big role in. H8ChillPenguin will have to keep playing at his best if he wants to keep the lead here.
We just saw that Double entered the desert caravan where he bought the bottle fairy, which you need to get the oxygen gel in order to enter the Sunken Shrine. And he also bought some giant tonic, which will be very useful for the final boss fight because you can double the amount of your HP. Which will be a bit safer for the boss fight.
Yeah, basically what the runners are going to look at is, at the final boss, they're going to see what the health is specifically for their warrior and their black mage. If they feel like it's too low, which for a lot of the runners, the cutoffs are about 275 or 250 health, they can opt to use the Giant's Tonic to sack one attack in favor of getting 200 additional max HP on that character for that one fight. It's very common to have to use it in runs just because of how low the HP rolls on both the Black Mage and the Thief can get over the course of a run. So H8ChillPenguin entering the Sunken Shrine, but Dubldrop right on his tail, landing the ship in order to get there as well. Getting very unlucky though with that Ogre Mage Hellhound. That is a very unlucky time loss for Dubldrop. That is the one unrunnable that he can encounter before he enters the canal, so to speak, before he enters the water. After the water, it's just the Ice Gigas. So he's getting unlucky here, getting that one unrunnable, especially since there are 4 of them as well. Looking like H8ChillPenguin is getting some unrunnables as well though, so it is not a set match just yet. Yeah, the Ice Gigas Winter Wolf encounter, in response to chat, is once you've actually crossed the river. Before that, you'll only find the Hellhound Ogre Mage. So I hate just getting more and more encounters. Now, in general, just as a quick side note here, they're about to pick up the Rosetta Stone. Now, back when the world record was a 127.01, which was the record until like about a week and a half ago, a sub 1 Rosetta Stone indicated your pace could potentially be on world record. Like, you could potentially be on world record pace. It looks like H8ChillPenguin is actually going to get the sub 1 Rosetta Stone, which I believe is his very first sub 1 Rosetta ever. Dubldrop, not too far behind him though. He's still lagging behind a little bit, but he is getting away from these encounters so far. Getting a pretty okay Sunken start here. If he can keep that up through that last little bit here. Oh, but Double making that mistake, trying to run from Sahagin Prince-in-Chief. That is a very big time loss on Double's end. That is a very significant time loss for Double. That's gonna lose him at least a good 15-20 seconds, if not more.
And H8ChillPenguin now on the way to the third Elemental Chaos. We just saw him after picking up the Rosetta Stone. He used a teleport, so he got back to the entrance, which saves a bit of time. And yeah, now he's on the way to Kraken, and we're going to see a very interesting menu soon. And we talked about the healing staff a bit earlier, and on that menu we're actually equipping the survival vest on the 3 male characters and the lordly robes on the right mage, which increases our healing for the boss fight.
So Double getting the Rosetta Stone despite his mistake just now, still saving a good 20 seconds on H8ChillPenguin, now a minute 23 apart. H8ChillPenguin picking up the chest from the left. That's kind of an interesting move, seeing a runner from his level do that. This chest contains the light axe, which is what they need in order to get the survival vest. The thing is, that chest, if you access it from the right, you will not necessarily get an encounter. Whereas if you pick it up from either the left or from below, you will always get into that encounter, as those are both spike tiles. So interesting decision there from H8ChillPenguin to take the slightly slower route on that one. It is 4 extra tiles less, so theoretically you could end up saving a little bit of time, but it's very, very unlikely for that to happen.
And there are the lordly robes.
Yeah, so H8ChillPenguin moving towards the Kraken. Double about to enter his light axe menu. You'll see Double, he gets unlucky getting that encounter on the tile anyway, so I didn't actually end up saving him any time, but he does still get the light axe, and he's going to start menuing again. Now again, Double is known for being good at menuing, so if he gets lucky, he might actually save a little bit of time on the menuing. He's getting a few mistakes there though, so it's going to be interesting to see if he actually can pull off a time save still.
It actually seems that the gap is getting closer.
The Double still getting a pretty solid menu off after that rough start right there. H8ChillPenguin moving on towards the boss. Now at this point, H8ChillPenguin has lost a lot of time over the world record run. I just want to mention that the world record run kills the Kraken at 1:01:29. Double taking a route mistake, or making a route mistake there. That is an interesting one, especially from a runner like Dubldrop. He's definitely starting to slip up here, and he needs to make sure that he can keep his head in the game for that last stretch if he still want to have a chance. Definitely not uncommon for a runner like Double to, if under stress like this, to make some minor mistakes like that. He is starting to lose a little bit of time here. He definitely has to keep his head in the game. It is, however, looking like he is going to close the gap just a little bit more. Entering the Kraken fight only 30 seconds behind H8ChillPenguin. We're going to see what the difference is at the end of this fight. Kraken getting the darkness off beforehand though, that's kind of unlucky. That loses him a few seconds. However, only 50 seconds difference. At this point, it's honestly anyone's game again. So looking at the run so far, it's looking like H8 had a good start, but as did Double. H8 having a very solid run up until the Sunken Shrine, but definitely starting to lose it on Sunken. Double slowly but steadily catching back up. It is honestly anyone's game with a 49.8 second difference between these two runners.
And the next and final chaos will be Tiamat, but in order to enter the dungeon, you need 2 items. The first will be the warp cube that they gonna pick up in this waterfall cave, and the second will be the chime. I don't know how to pronounce it, which they will get a little bit later. And from my perspective, I want to say that this waterfall cave is just like a horrible place.
The Waterfall Cave, it generally tends to not be very bad, except that the encounter rate in Waterfall is incredibly high. So both of these runners will probably end up getting a lot of encounters, and it's definitely gonna depend on the quality of those encounters as to how their times are gonna look. Waterfall Cave can either be very, very quick, or it can be a very, very slow dungeon, depending on what you get.
And there will be also a spike tile with some cockatrices, so I hope that both of the runners at least save or don't get an ambush on that.
Oh, H8ChillPenguin not saving and getting the ambush. Speak of the devil right there.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
He is lucky though that only 2 of these are cockatrices, getting the first death though through a Pyralisk gaze. So at this point, neither of these runners are immune to these encounters. They are generally very easy to run from, so they aren't as dangerous as you would think. But they can be very, very, very bad if you get 9 of them and they happen to ambush you like that. So H8ChillPenguin picking up the warp cube, and he's gonna go for another equipment glitch menu. This is, I believe, the before last equipment glitch menu that we're gonna see this run. The last one being just before the final boss. This is a bit of an interesting menu in that they're gonna equip the ribbon into the weapon slot, meaning making it a judgment axe, and then from the judgment axe going back into the ribbon to put it on shield. Up to this point, none of the runners have equipped anything on their shield slot, and the reason for that being is that a wrong piece of equipment on the shield slot can heartlock the game. The ribbon, however, happens to correspond with an item that actually works. So it's one of those items where if they have it, if they get that, they can equip it on their shield safe and sound, because it does actually get that animation out there and will not heartlock the game. The advantage of getting that ribbon is that they get a 50% defense boost against all elemental spells, as well as being resistant to every single status effect. It's looking again like Double is catching up little by little with a 40-second difference right now. Only 40 seconds in between both Double and H8ChillPenguin. At this point, if Double gets that good endgame and H8 does not, it is not impossible for Double to catch up. H8 making some movement mistakes, actually having to check the world map here. That is definitely where the inexperience from H8 is gonna cost him compared to how experienced Double is. Basically getting these 2 runners completely tied. Now the reason Double is able to save this much time over H8ChillPenguin, oh wow, look at that. They are literally like seconds apart. Double taking the lead actually because of his video being slightly more behind than H8ChillPenguin. This is where that really good menu from Double in combination with H8ChillPenguin getting lost on the world map is just, it makes it a very, very even match here, and H8 is gonna need to get some good RNG if he want to try to keep his lead. This is one of those points in the game where the experience from Double definitely starts pulling through over H8ChillPenguin.
And if you're wondering why we entered Melmond again, the runners need to visit the place which is called Lufenia, but the people there don't speak any English, so you have to learn their language. And with the Rosetta Stone we picked up in the Sunken Shrine, we are going to Dr. Une, who teaches us how to speak Lufenian.
So this is going to be interesting because Double has taken the lead because of the mistakes that H8ChillPenguin just made. This is another one of those areas though where encounters are going to matter a lot. There is one encounter particularly, the Minotaur Zombie Troll, which is unrunnable, so if they get it, they will have to kill it. And that can lose you minutes in here if you get very unlucky. Now, Lufenia itself is one of those places where NPCs tend to block you a lot. Double getting very lucky not getting blocked at all by any of the NPCs. That might just potentially save him another few seconds over H8ChillPenguin here. 8 getting blocked by the second NPC, very common for this to happen, but very unlucky if it does. Both of them getting the chime, and it's looking like, I want to say about a 27-second difference, a little bit less actually. I want to say like a 22-23 second difference between these two runners. Currently now in favor of Dubldrop, who's taken back his lead and is well on his way to winning his first match if he can keep this up.
Yeah, but there will be 2 dungeons left, the Mirage Tower / Flying Fortress and the Chaos Shrine, and anything can happen there. So H8Chill is getting very unlucky with all these unrunnables, and Double just entered the Mirage Tower. And at the end of the Mirage Tower, he have to kill the Blue Dragon, and then he gets to the Flying Fortress. And on the Flying Fortress, there's actually a very, very rare encounter, which is called the Worm Hack.
Yeah, so for those that are familiar with FF1 in any shape or form, the Worm Hack is a 1 in 64 encounter that only appears on the last floor of the Flying Fortress. It is the most experience and money yielding encounter in the game, giving 32k experience and gil. It's very rare for them to see it. If they do, they will probably end up opting to kill it just for the hype of it. On average, you're gonna see one every roughly 30 runs, so it's very, very uncommon for it to actually happen in a run. But who knows, maybe we'll just be seeing our first Worm Hack of the tournament today. Gonna be interesting to see if it'll happen or not. These runners may or may not end up opting to take a safety save on floor 5 at the start of the floor in case it does happen. Because Worm Hack also is a very strong encounter that can definitely kill party members if he wants to. So Double very much increasing his lead on H8ChillPenguin here just because of the encounter luck that Double got just now compared to H8. H8ChillPenguin being in the lead for the first hour, but it looks like he's gonna have to... He's gonna get the better of Double here, and he's gonna beat Double, or he's gonna lose to Double. Double is gonna beat him to it after all. Gonna see what the time difference is, but it's looking like H8 is currently over a minute behind on Dubldrop. Slightly over a minute, about a minute 8, I want to say. So very, very big time losses here for H8ChillPenguin, and definitely an opportunity for Double to take this race back. It looks like Double is taking some safety precautions here. He's getting the Black Flan encounter, which is the second rarest encounter on that floor, being a 3 in 64 encounter. Getting to Tiamat, and with that, the last of the Elemental Archfiends for Dubldrop. Now, one thing I quickly want to mention is that just on the world record splits, Double has saved about a minute between the Kraken and the Chime. He's losing a little bit of it again, but he is definitely on a really solid pace here. Getting the kill on Tiamat at a 1:14.45, which is a very, very solid Tiamat time. Looking like he may actually be able to pull the sub 130 off. H8ChillPenguin still struggling to get to it, getting onto the 5th floor, not opting for the safety save. I think he does know that he is currently behind, and that he's gonna have to pull out everything if he still wants to have a shot here. Taking a pretty big risk at that, but looking like he may or may not still give a fight. He will give that fight against Double to the very end, it looks like. Getting the T-Bolt. Now, because of the ribbons, the T-Bolt damage is actually it's halved. However, still enough to kill off the Thief. It's kind of annoying for him, but he should be fine regardless. And with that, he also getting that 4th crystal out of the way and he's gonna move on towards the final dungeon. The Double is going to see an unlocking of another bonus dungeon, the Labyrinth of Time. It's actually a PSP only dungeon. We will not visit it in any percent, but in both full bestiary and all bosses, we'll have to visit it. He's going to go back to where we started this game, where he originally fought Garland. He's going to use the 4 crystals to travel 2,000 years into the past and break the time loop. Going to take that safety save. Now, if we know Double, we know that there is one thing Double can be afraid of here, and that is white dragons. In the FF1 community, we have the phrasing double dragons, because Double has lost quite a few good runs on those white dragons before. So he's gonna have to play around with those white dragons and try to run from them as best he can.
Speaking of the devil, there are they.
Yeah, getting an Ice Storm off, but it doesn't look like Double is gonna care too much. He's gonna keep on running. He gets the green dragons, so he will have to kill them as they are unrunnable. Considering Double's health though, I'm not sure if Double actually minds getting these. Having the white mage still under 300 and having the black mage still under 200, he's probably not that disappointed of getting those encounters, because he'll probably want to play it safe. Because he knows that world record is out of the question at this point. He's almost 2 minutes behind his PB time. So he's gonna just play it safe, kill those unrunnables, and hopefully with that, getting enough health to make the chaos fight just a little bit safer.
And we saw that H8Chill just entered the Chaos Shrine as well. So both are in the same time period again. Now let's see how they can pull this off.
Yeah, Hate will have to heal here though. He kept his ninja dead. He's still going to opt to take the safety save here. He knows that dying in this place is not uncommon, and he knows that if he wants to at least finish the race, he's gonna have to take that safety there. So he too going to head towards the towards the 3rd floor of Chaos' Shrine and towards Death Eye. Now, just after they double kill Death Eye, and just after Hate will kill Death Eye in a little bit, they're going to use that item they picked up right at the start, the loot. It's the first time in the game we actually get to see it be used after quite some time. We picked it up minutes into the game. I want to say about 3 minutes for each of these runners, and now they're getting to finally use it. H8ChillPenguin making the mistake here to use the Judgment Staff on the White Mage. It is a good way to get rid of green dragons, The problem is green dragons will generally outspeed the white mage and can cause some troubles. He gets away with it though. He's gonna move on to Death Eye and get that kill as well. Now, as these runners are getting ready to pretty much just finish up the game, we've got about a minute 40 difference between H8 and Double at this point. Still a fairly close race, nothing that can't change, especially considering how bad Double's start was there. But I want to quickly talk about the final boss fight of this game. So once they reach the lowest floor of this place, they're gonna be fighting Chaos. Now Chaos has 20,000 health, which is significantly more than any other boss in the game. He has a wide range of magic spells that can really do a lot of damage. Especially Tsunami and Cyclone are the kind of spells that can really hurt a run. They can, on top of that, he has the possibility to use physical attacks, and if they get very unlucky, although this is very rare, he can also heal himself for about 10k HP. So definitely one of those bosses where a lot can happen still. And this run is not done until that boss is dead, especially with a race this close. Looks like H8ChillPenguin is opting to kill the white dragons. Probably wants to get that extra safety HP from with the experience that he's going to get from this fight. In the meantime, Dubldrop getting into the next boss fight, Lich 2. Now, basically over the course of this dungeon, they're going to have to kill all of the Elemental Archfiends a second time. The thing is, all of those Archfiends got a major buff compared to the first time they fought him. Lich, for example, now has Flare, which is, like we mentioned earlier, the most powerful black magic spell in the game. It's probably the most deadly of the 4 Elemental Archfiends, not generally the slowest. But one that can lose either of them a little bit of time if they do end up getting the Flare. Dubldrop getting the 1 in 64 Fire Elementals there. That is a quite an interesting encounter there. If it wasn't for H8 getting similarly unlucky here to Dubldrop, H8 would have actually been able to catch up quite a bit here. Looking like H8 is still going to make a run for it. He's still going to try. He's got 263 on the Ninja, which is a really good amount of health. He's well over 200 for his Black Mage as well. He's got plenty of health on all of his characters, whereas Double still lacking with the 193 on his Black Mage. You can also see here the main difference between the Warrior and White Mage and the Ninja and Black Mage. This is just at least 100 HP difference between the two.
And it seems they both get really unlucky with rare encounters.
Yeah, it's gonna potentially come down to the Chaos fight in the Kraken floor. The Kraken floor is notorious for its water elementals. It's another one of those unrunnables, so whenever they get it, they will have to end up killing it. The difference between a good and a bad good and a bad Kraken 2 floor is literally like a minute and a half, so H8ChillPenguin can definitely catch up. H8ChillPenguin getting the flare from Lich, but surviving it with 3 health on his warrior and 58 on his white mage. Really lucky shot there from H8ChillPenguin, making sure that he gets to survive that fight. He will have to heal though, which loses him a few seconds. They're about a floor apart right now. That's the only difference there is, and Double getting that 8 encounter ambush right there. It is definitely a run in Dubldrop's favor, but it's gonna come down to the final few fights. This is one of the closest matches we're gonna probably see over the course of this tournament. Seeing two runners, especially considering their gap in skill level, be this close together is quite interesting.
And Double got another water elemental, so his Kraken floor was not very lucky.
Now, just to give an idea, Double's gold Kraken floor is about 50 seconds, 49.8 seconds to be precise. He just got a, I believe a 2.5 minute split there, so he lost a minute and a half over his gold time. That's gonna definitely give H8ChillPenguin a chance to catch up just a little bit again. Make that the close race that we were hoping for. The Double, about to move on to the last of the Elemental Archfiends, gets an encounter in between, which is very unlucky. But this is where he's going to use an interesting strat. This is the first time we're going to actually see haste be used in the course of a fight. He's going to use it on the ninja. Ideally, he wants to get it off before the ninja attacks, which he does. That generally ends up saving at least about 6 seconds. So it is a minor time save for Double there. That can definitely help him make sure he can take that win after all. Just 6 seconds, but at this point in the race, it's gonna come down to the second. As Double kills Tiamat 2, H8ChillPenguin moving on to Kraken 2. Still, both of them only being about a floor apart. Double getting another encounter, 2 encounters on the Tiamat floor. He's gonna move on to the final floor. The final floor does not have any encounters, and it's really just gonna come down to the final boss. This race can honestly come down to the final boss depending on the luck that these runners are going to get. So you'll notice in the menuing that Double just equipped the clothes on the White Mage. The sole reason for that is that because of the clothes, the White Mage will never outspeed, or very rarely outspeed Chaos, rather than like it being about a coin toss. Because of that, it's a much safer fight because Chaos is a lot less likely to get 2 hits off back to back.
And we just saw H did a little mistake because he used the haste on the warrior.
Yeah, he got the haste off on the warrior, but he still gets the 2-turn fight, so he doesn't actually end up losing any time to it. Dubldrop having to opt to go for the double Giant's Tonic. This is that time loss that you get if you are too low on health, and they're going to start hasting up their characters here, just to buff up their attack as much as they can. Double starting off with Blaze, that is probably not something he wanted to see. Getting pretty high damage rolls there, nothing he shouldn't be able to recover from. But Double is now gonna have to watch out for a Tsunami or Cyclone potentially. Blaze, Tsunami, Cyclone is probably one of the most dangerous combinations you can get in the game, and it's definitely something that can kill a run, even at this point. He gets a physical though, which means he can actually get the heal off, and at that point it's almost GG for Dubldrop. It's still gonna see what kind of time he's gonna have to get, but it's definitely looking like Double has this race in the pocket. He's getting the last haste off. White Mage healing all of his characters again. And at this point, it is looking like Double is going to end up winning this first match of the Total Chaos Tournament. Very close race between two very solid runners. It would actually, I will mention, it would not surprise me if Hade is actually really close to his PB right now. Well, let me actually look that up real quick.
I think he has a 132. So if nothing goes wrong, then he's definitely gonna PB.
Yeah, 132.28. H8ChillPenguin, even with the loss, very likely at this point to get the PB off. So the time is as soon as the boss splits, Double getting a 129 flat, which is a really solid time. Now we're gonna still have to see what H8ChillPenguin is gonna do, but it's gonna look like if he gets this final fight right, and if he gets lucky here, he may actually end up pulling off a PB. So it may not have been the win of the race, but he's definitely got his run cut out for him. Now, I'll be joining both of the racers very soon. As soon as we see H8ChillPenguin split, I'll be joining both H8ChillPenguin and Dubldrop for some commentary. So I'm gonna move over to them real quick. We're gonna see how they're doing. Double, congrats on the victory.
Thanks. I didn't think I was gonna get it, considering he was like tied with my PB all the way up through Merilith.
Yeah. So how do you feel at the end of this match? Because that was a very, very close race right there. It came down to almost to the second up until like the last half an hour of the run.
Yeah. I'm pretty happy I managed to claw that back. A lot of it was like decent RNG towards the end of the run. Like I never strayed more than 3 minutes off my PB, which in a race setting is really, really good. And I was about a minute behind at Chime. So like I was on pretty good pace despite the bad RNG at the beginning.
And Hate, it's I mean, I don't know if the fight is already over for you, but it's definitely getting close.
It's almost there, yeah.
Like it looks like you're about to PB, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yes, he is.
So definitely looking like, despite it may not have been the victory, it's still going to be a really good run on your end.
Yeah, definitely a good personal victory.
Let's get the end of that race right here.
I thought he was gonna 127 this run for sure. Sunken destroyed
That's
him,
it.
unfortunately.
130, 129.
Good job,
GG, dude.
H8ChillPenguin, and congrats on the personal record. That is, I mean, you may have lost a lot of time on that last third of the game there, but still a very solid run overall. So,
Thank you, Cruel.
Hey, how are you feeling after that run?
You know, it was a great run. I really enjoyed running it. Plus, I was pretty close to world record pace for a lot of it, and that feels great. So, yeah, I mean, it's all RNG, so I'll take what I can get, and that was a great race. I really enjoyed racing you, Double.
Yeah, same here. You did really good. I'm quite proud of you.
So,
Thank you.
So I think with that...
Cruel, he has a Cornelia split, and it was 103.5.
Yeah,
I'm so proud of this guy.
I know.
I'm so proud of this guy.
I saw the splits as we were going along, and I saw that he was getting quite good starting or good early games as well. So with that, I guess we're rounding up the very first match of the Total Chaos tournament. Now, for the people in chat, you'll probably be seeing a lot more of these races very, very soon. This was quite the interesting start of the tournament. You can say that, like first race of the tournament, getting one of the runners on world record pace for like the first 50 minutes or so of it too. It's a very, very good run. Before we go off, be sure to follow both of these runners, both Dubldrop and H8ChillPenguin. Very good FF1 runners. I'll be seeing you. I hope to be seeing a lot of you guys again for the future races that are coming up. Before we do go off, I feel like we should probably host somebody, shouldn't we?
I think so.
That seems like a good call here. Now, it's looking like there aren't any other FF1 runners live right now. So
there's supposed to be a race. I saw in Discord that Roach and Sigma are supposed to race.
In that case, let's see if
immediately after this.
Let's see if we can get both of those guys up here.
Sigma, Nick Flash.
as they're setting up, because it would be kind of cool to get both of these up here. To actually be able to raid or host at the very least one of the runners in the tournament. You guys, I gotta ask, as you were going through this run, I mean, especially you, Hate, when you got to Lich and when you noticed that you got that kind of Lich time, what went through your mind?
Work on my pathing, just make sure my pathing was down to a T. I was real nervous at that point, and I got increasingly nervous throughout the run. I made some bad movements, but overall, it's made me realize that I should really focus on my airship flight.
Yeah, we saw some of the airship movement. You seem to struggle a little bit with it, having to open up the world map a few times, but still pulling through all of the dungeons really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And Double, the moment that you managed to surpass Hate, at what point did you realize you were ahead?
I knew I was ahead on the watch of Lufenia because we were talking the whole time, so I knew pretty much when I surpassed him. I knew that I passed him pretty much on the menu, the ribbon menu, because I was a little bit behind going into that, and I blazed through that menu fast enough that it was like a one encounter, and that put me ahead.
Yeah, Double's menuing is absolutely impressive. I hope to learn from it.
Yeah, Double, your menuing was spot on for quite a few of the menus over the course of the run. So, as you did pass him, because you just said that you knew it pretty much right away, what went through your mind the moment that you realized that you were ahead again?
Just keep going, pretty much. Like, none of my focus was on the race. For anyone watching, if you saw me like make minor movement errors or whatever, half the time I was looking at my splits to kind of see where Nick was, because I knew he was on record pace, and I knew, according to my splits and how much time save I have in Chaos' Shrine, that I could potentially be on record pace too. And so I wanted to try and like let him know, it's okay. We're gonna keep going through this. And I was like chatting at the same time. So I kept taking my eyes off the run, but I was just having fun with it.
Yeah, definitely a great time. It was a blast.
I know that it's a race this close. It's like anything can happen. It could come down to chaos very easily. So just kept going and finished when I finished.
Yep. Absolutely.
Sounds like quite the match, but sounds like you guys have definitely enjoyed your guys' run.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Before we go off, first of all, we will have another race, I believe tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central European Time, which is 10 a.m. EST, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm assuming that, there will be a lot more races, especially during the first phase of the tournament, because there will be, like, races every single day, pretty much. So keep an eye out on a lot of these runners. Be sure to follow all of those runners as well. And I'm gonna quickly see if either Sigma or Roach has already managed to go live.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But I see.
Then it would be nice if we could actually be able to host those two guys. So
he said in chat it's gonna take him a second to set up.
Yeah, definitely. So while we wait for the two of them to go live, I quickly want to mention like a few notable people that we're gonna see these next few days. Looking at the races that are still gonna be scheduled, tomorrow we'll have Nikki Noel versus Lenafis. Lenafis being the semi-final, or the finalist, the runner-up from last year. Nikki Noel being the world record holder for the GBA category. That is gonna be one of the best matches to watch. I am honestly sad that I will not be able to catch that race, because it is gonna be an amazing race at that.
Nikki versus Lenafis is gonna be a really solid race. Like, those two runners are definitely. I think Lenafis isn't top 10 anymore, but he was for a very long time, and Nikki is, I think, top 6. So these are two really, really strong runners that are going to be facing off against each other.
Yeah, so that is going to definitely be a race to watch out for. Yeah, Lenafis currently being on the 12th place, Nikki Noel being on 5th. It's going to be an amazing race. Then later on in the week, we've got Oud Sigma, the number 5 from last year, against Pigman Steve, the number 4 from last year, which will be on January 20th, 2 a.m. Central European Time, 8 p.m. EST. We've got Ausabe versus Nebulous. Ausabe being somebody that almost broke the record at one point. Nebulous being probably the guy that's got his time down the fastest of any runner lately. Which will be a little bit later, or a little bit earlier, actually. January... No, later, I'm saying it correctly. Sorry. At January 20th, 8 p.m. CET, 2 p.m. EST. We've got Chrono Kirby versus Zelnus, Chrono being a former world record holder, current number 3, on January 19th, 8 p.m. CET. We've got Poor Scythe versus Fatman on January 20th. We've got so many strong combinations of runners that are going to be very interesting to watch. So be sure to keep an eye out for those races. I'm going to once again check to see if any of those, the racers that we're going to do a race in a little bit have gone live. It looks like they have. Now, I'm gonna opt to host somebody who he was with us on preparing for these races and getting ready to restream and stuff as well. This is the current console world record holder, somebody that actually managed to beat my time very recently. We'll be hosting Poor Scythe. So be sure to check out these runners and all of the other runners in the tournament, and hope to see everyone back during the future races.
Yeah, thanks for sticking around, guys.